CENTER Maine presents Agree to Disagree with Phil Harriman and Ethan Strimling, an ongoing podcast on Maine politics. Phil, a Republican, and Ethan, a Democrat, are two of Maine's most well-known and respected political analysts. Every week and sometimes daily, get new episodes discussing all things political and how it affects Mainers like you. And now, here's Phil and Ethan.
Welcome to episode 12 of the Agree to Disagree podcast with Phil and Ethan, a weekly podcast on CENTER Maine from now through Election Day. Phil, how you feeling today?
Oh my goodness, it's like we got the October surprise in September. We're going to talk about a lot of things implicating, influencing the presidential election as well as the U.S. Senate race. Should be fun, don't you think?
I think so. I thought when you were talking about the October surprise in September, you meant this nice cool weather that feels like it's already close to Thanksgiving, and yet we are only in September.
We got Indian summer. Are you still allowed to say Indian summer?
Yeah, no, actually you're not, buddy.
Oh, okay. Native American summer or a late summer surge in the beginning of the fall season. No disrespect intended. Actually, a high compliment to our Native Americans meant.
Fair enough. And I actually love this weather. It's my favorite time of year for sure. I'm actually up in CD2 again. Scoping it out. I know Donald Trump Jr. is going to be coming to town, so I want to make sure all my folks are going to be there recording every word.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So do you feel a little out of sorts when you're up in the 2nd Congressional District?
There's a lot of Trump signs up here, I got to say, and a lot of impeach Mills signs. It's a little weird up here. Pretty soon I'll get back down to the nice liberal bastion of Portland and much more confident.
Okay,
all right,
so what do we talk about?
All right, we got obviously the legacy political implications of Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing. We got the first presidential debate coming up next Tuesday. Offer a little bit of advice to the two of them. We got a ton of legislative seats that have no challengers in them. We have Donald Trump, of course, calling out Susan Collins on her position regarding the replacement for Ruth Bader Ginsburg onto the Supreme Court. Governor Mills' curtailment order. Did you see Dale Crafts went skydiving?
I did.
What that guy?
What a stunt that was.
I know. I'll give him some courage. I've never done that, and good for him. So, and then, of course, polls consistently showing Gideon ahead of Collins. We'll talk a little bit about that. So it's packed for sure.
I can't imagine the types of polling that you're looking at that gives you that indication. But anyway, and plus we'll play a little Love It, Hate It, or Wake Me Up When It's Over. And our producer, Schoolsy, tells us how you did, Ethan, on the hot seat this past week on Nailed It or Failed It.
Yeah, well, I think I did not as well as I should have. Let me just put it that way. A little self-reflection there. I go with my heart too much.
Yeah. Well, you're trying to predict the future, and that's not a winning strategy.
Not in politics, for sure. All right, should we get this thing started?
Yes, as everyone knows, Justice Ruth.
Oh, hold on a second. We got to get the Schoolsy's got to give us the open.
Oh, you said.
I know you like to skip over Nancy Pelosi, but give Nancy her due, man.
All right.
As Speaker of the House, I solemnly and sadly open the debate.
There you go. Now you got it, buddy.
Thank you. The politics of RBG. As everyone knows, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away last weekend. Let's talk about the impact this will have on the presidential and U.S. Senate race. Ethan, what are your thoughts on her legacy?
Yeah, on her legacy, just remarkable career, 60 years of public service. Certainly, she moved us more than any other Supreme Court justice closer towards the kind of equality that the Declaration of Independence has aspired to. And hopefully she'll be remembered for that. She will be laying in state in the Capitol, first woman to do so. So it's just a great legacy. In terms of the politics of this, boy, what a political football this has become. So unfortunate. Didn't need to get this way, but it appears that McConnell and Trump are going to reach new heights of hypocrisy and try to drive through a Supreme Court nomination. This will be the first time in 250 years of American history that a Supreme Court nominee will be put forward by a president this close to a presidential election. And it'll be the first time that a nominee to the Supreme Court will be vetted by the United States Senate this close to a presidential election. After what they did in 2016 to Barack Obama's nominee, just disgraceful.
I have to pause and join you in celebrating the legacy of Justice Ginsburg. Her politics, or the role of government in our lives, from her perspective and mine, I'm sure were quite different. But talk about extraordinarily ahead of your time, the elegance and the perseverance and the intellect to earn the respect of her peers, not only on the Supreme Court, but also as a professor in Columbia Law School. What a great legacy role model for everyone in America, to believe that if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And she certainly did. And I'm proud of our country for recognizing that her legacy deserves to lie in state in our state capitol. I think that is a wonderful tribute by all people who are serving in public office to recognize her extraordinary legacy. And as you alluded to, Ethan, this is what I describe as the October surprise in September. Usually candidates weeks before the election have to deal with some unexpected event or new twist in the campaign that wasn't anticipated. And I believe the passing of Justice Ginsburg has done that in not only in the presidential election, but also in the U.S. Senate race here in Maine. So to me, this is the rationale behind what the president and Mitch McConnell are doing. I actually see it your way. We need diplomacy and camaraderie more than ever in our politics. This was an opportunity to have this nomination go forward after the election. And if Trump was the winner, it would have been moot anyway.
Yeah, I have to commend you. You were really the first Republican that I heard in Maine when you and I discussed this when it first went down, to come out publicly and say that no nominee should be moved forward and voted upon before the election. I'm very glad that Susan Collins has taken that position. It took a couple days to really get clarity around that, but she has landed in the right place. I think the right place for Maine people, the right place for the United States. So I really commend her for that. I hope she works very hard to get a few of her colleagues to join her, because of course there are only two of them so far, which means if everybody else votes for this nominee, they will be on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm looking at this more from a statesperson's point of view than from a raw politics. The Republicans rightly say that in years where the president and the party in power in the Senate are of the same party, they have moved nominations to the Supreme Court through on an election year. But for me, this was a chance for Republicans. If they really believe that Donald Trump is going to get reelected, why not be statespersons about this and take this nomination up after the election? Okay.
All right, my friend. Tuesday night marks the first presidential debate. Phil, how about we've done this before. Let's pretend for a moment that we are on the debate prep team for our respective candidates. You on Donald Trump, I'll be on Joe Biden's team, at least to start. Then we can flip it around a little bit. So if you're on that team, Donald Trump's about to get on the stage. What are you going to say to him that he has to do in these debates?
Act presidential. We've seen you out on your campaign stops and all the entertainment and showman, hyperbole, motivational speaking, glib little one-liners. We've seen all that. We get it. But this is a presidential debate. This is an occasion where more Americans than ever during the campaign are going to tune in and listen. I think President Trump needs to be not only presidential, but just through his command of details and facts, and be able to demonstrate that he is doing the job that he said he was going to do when he got elected, and to juxtapose his command of the facts with what I think will be Joe Biden's a lot of sort of generalities. And I think his ability to be sharp and crisp will show through if Donald Trump acts presidential.
You ask the impossible, buddy. You know, we've been asking for Donald Trump to be presidential for 4 years, and it's just not his style, man. Or he has a different definition of what presidential means. So, but I do think you're right. He needs to be quote unquote presidential. It would help him a lot. Look, he's behind in this race. It's clear. All the polls show anywhere from 6 to 9 points nationally and in the swing states. So He needs to do something, I think, to change the dynamic. It's his unfavorables that are hurting him so much. So he's got to figure out how to get people to like him. I think he's got to focus on really sort of policy stuff. That's where I see the Republicans at least are more clear, and sort of what are the real policies that Donald Trump has put in place that you like, and really try to go to those as much as possible. It's really about trying to talk about the results, because from their perspective, even though they're out of sync with a lot of American people. But so what would you advise Joe Biden if you were on his team?
Well, I think this is an entirely different, how shall I say, risk for Joe Biden than it is for Donald Trump. I think if Biden doesn't show he is in command of the facts, that he's quick thinking, that he's got options to explain to people about the way Trump has done things and the way he would, if he does not come across as, hey, I got this, I am as sharp as ever, and here's convincing proof of it, I think he will take a step back in the polling. I also think that he needs to acknowledge that his 50 years of service has got him into many places where he has seen as changing positions on policy issues one after the other. I think he needs to be real clear. If I'm elected, here's the focus, here's the agenda.
Yeah, the thing to remember about Joe Biden, look, when he was in the Democratic primary debates, he was solid until that final debate against Bernie Sanders, when everybody thought Joe Biden was just going to get crushed. Bernie had all the energy, all this talk about, can Joe put a sentence together? And he came out and he knocked it out of the park. And then Super Tuesday happened and it was over. The race was just done. And I think people have to remember that Joe Biden's been doing this, as you know, for a long time. So he's got a lot of experience. And I would just rely on that experience and step forward what he's been working on for so long, but also not let Donald Trump get away with the lies. That's a big part of this, is really fact checking him right in the moment to say that is simply not true. We know it's easy to get underneath Donald Trump's skin. I would try to do it in the debate because I think it'll help. Oh, so this one's you, Phil. Sorry. Take it
Presidential ranked choice voting. The Supreme Court ruled that ranked choice voting will officially be used in Maine for the first time in our nation's history in a presidential election. I know you love this, but tell us how you think this is going to impact the presidential race.
Yeah, I do love this. I mean, it's important to recognize that the Supreme Court actually, in this case, didn't really rule on RCV, just ruled on whether or not the Republicans had failed to get the signatures that they needed, and they did. And that's a big deal. Republicans spent a lot of time, a lot of energy getting these signatures. And then in the end, it was very clear that they tried to pull some shenanigans, tried to get over 1,000 signatures in there that were absolutely clearly invalid. They tried to have people collect signatures who were not actually registered in those towns, got registered afterwards. And the Supreme Court said, no, the Constitution is unambiguous on this question. You must be registered in the town that you are collecting signatures. So, it's black and white in that instance. So please make sure that you're doing that at least. So the Supreme Court was clear, but I think this is very exciting. It's the first time ever in the history of the United States that ranked choice voting is going to be used in a presidential race, and it will be very interesting to see what those implications are.
Well, I am not a fan of ranked choice voting. We could have a whole podcast on that topic, but that's for another day. I think how this will affect the presidential election in Maine, I don't think it's going to influence the results in the first congressional district. I think Biden is going to win that handily. In the second congressional district, I think you're going to be surprised at how strong Trump is. And in that second round of balloting, I think you're going to find that he may actually fare better than Joe Biden if it goes to a second or third round. And let's remember, of course, that in Maine, our electoral college votes, of which we have 4 of them, 2 go to the winner of the overall race in the state of Maine, 1 goes to the winner of the first congressional district, and 1 goes to the winner of the second congressional district. And Trump in 2016 got that 1 electoral college vote in the second district, and I'm sure he wants to keep it.
Yeah, Maine and Nebraska, the only two states that do that. I think your analysis actually is pretty good there. I think that RCV actually helps Donald Trump up in the second CD. There are a couple of other sort of fringe candidates out there, and I think there's a good shot that those votes are going to go to Trump. And wouldn't that be ironic if Donald Trump loses on the first ballot in terms of getting the majority and then wins it on the second? And Republicans are going to be all of a sudden supporting ranked choice voting. We'd be flipping the tables, because there's a very good chance, that Susan Collins could win on the first ballot and lose on the second ballot. That's a race where it looks like between Gideon and Savage, there's a majority of voters up there right now not willing to support Collins. So RCV could help Donald Trump and hurt Susan Collins. Where will Republicans land then?
Well, and that just illustrates my concern, is that the more people experience ranked choice voting, the more they're going to want to get rid of it, as it is installed and repealed in several places around the country. I wonder if we're going to be the third one to do it.
All right, buddy, here we go. Love it, hate it, or wake me when it's over. Your favorite part of the show.
Yes.
You ready to...
Yeah, what do you got?
A little bit here. All right, here we got. Number one, Governor Mills has executed a curtailment to balance the budget. Phil, are you loving her budget, you hating her budget, or wake me up when it's over?
I'm mostly loving this, Ethan. I have been calling on Governor Mills to do this going back to the spring. We could tell early on that this pandemic was going to wreak havoc on the state's sources of revenue, which are primarily tourism and in the fuels. And we all know that those two places have been hit hard. So what she's done is trim the sails. She hasn't cut anything. She's just slowed down the transfer of money out of the checkbook into the various departments and programs. I think they're going to have to do a lot more. The legislature is going to have to actually come in and restructure the budget. So I'm loving it that she's got it underway, and I think she's going to have to do more. Dale Crafts, Republican nominee for 2nd Congressional District number 2, who also happens to be a paraplegic, went skydiving to raise awareness for veterans. Strim, you loving this, hating this, or wake me up when it's over?
I love it. This is great. It's a good cause, of course. It's a great politically, got headlines all over the place. I'll tell you what, he's got more courage than me. I've never gone skydiving. I can't stand flying, let alone go skydiving and be somebody who's been in a wheelchair for the last 30 years to do that. So good for him for doing it. I'm loving it. All right, Phil, Donald Trump has called out Susan Collins, says she will be badly hurt by saying the election should determine who should nominate Ruth Bader Ginsburg's replacement. Phil, you loving it, hating it, or wake me when it's over?
I'm loving this. I think Susan Collins has yet once again, in spite of all of the criticism that you see coming out of the ads for the Gideon campaign, is demonstrating that she is moderate, that she stands her own ground. She can say no to the president of the United States. I think this is going to give her a lot of fodder to look at people and say, look, this is how I have been as your senator. Every year I've been here. Don't pay attention to these nasty campaign ads. I am who I've always been. Four polls out in the last 2 weeks on the U.S. Senate race. On average, they show Sarah Gideon up by almost 6 points. Strim, you loving it, hating it, or wake me up when it's over?
Loving it, baby. Although, I want it to wake me up when it's over, because I get nervous, because as we get closer to election day, these things are going to tighten down. But, I think this is a good example. You were just talking about how, Susan Collins is trying to make clear that she is the same person that she's always been. And I don't think that's coming across. That's why people are so frustrated, so ready for change. She just, even though she's standing up to Trump here again, it looks like she's standing up to Trump in an instance when it won't really have any impact unless she gets her colleagues to actually vote down the nominee. And she's one of those votes. I don't think that this is going to help. This has been the same. But I'm loving that Sarah Gideon is up 6 points. That works for me.
Ethan, Donald Trump has said he's only looking at women to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You loving this, hating it, or wake me up when it's over?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I know Republicans hated it when Joe Biden said that he would only look at women for his vice presidential nominee, but I think it's appropriate. He should be looking at women. I think the Supreme Court ultimately, I hope, becomes more balanced in terms of male-female. I'd like to see a majority women on the Supreme Court at some point. So I think it's totally appropriate. I just hope that whoever he nominates goes down in flames. All right, buddy, 34 legislative seats have only one candidate running in the state Senate or the state House. 24 of those are Democrats. Phil, you loving this? Are you hating this? Or wake me up when it's over?
I think you're going to have to wake me up when it's over. The Republicans, historically, or at least over the last couple of decades, have made it a badge of honor to say we've got all 186 legislative seats with the candidate. And they knew from the moment the candidate was able to get on the ballot that they weren't going to win because of the districts that they represented or wanted to represent. So wake me up when it's over. As long as they've recruited high quality candidates for the other seats and they're targeted in areas where Republicans have a chance of winning, we may be surprised on election day. So wake me up.
I think it's going to be a nightmare when I wake you up, buddy. But I will. I will.
It's going to be a nightmare for one of us, for sure.
No doubt.
Okay, last week, Ethan, you were on the hot seat. His record in a week was 4. Let's see if he can beat it. Okay, Schoolsy, our producer extraordinaire, are you ready?
Ready to go.
Okay, here are the questions from last week. Number 1. Agree or disagree? The Senate will finally pass another stimulus in the next week. Ethan said, agree. Schoolsy, how do you do?
Failed it.
Oh,
Never bet on Republicans, man. See, I put my faith in the Senate majority leader, and I never should have done it.
Okay, well, let's see how you did on number 2. Agree or disagree? Maine will surpass 250,000 absentee ballot requests by next week. Ethan said, agree. Schoolsy, how do you do?
Failed it.
Oh, for 2.
You guys,
there are, I know, 233,000 absentee ballots as of last night. So we're getting close, but didn't quite hit the 250 mark.
Right, let's go to number 3. Agree or disagree? Half a dozen Maine public schools will close for at least a day due to COVID-19 in the next week. Ethan said, disagree. Schoolsy, how do you do?
Nailed it.
For you. Yeah, would they have one school, I guess, Sanford?
Yeah, Sanford was the only one. The other schools doing okay so far. So that's good news for us.
And, as I'm driving about the countryside, it's great to see the kids out doing cross country and soccer and football.
And flag football. That's your favorite sport, apparently.
Okay, number 4, agree or disagree? The Maine legislature will meet in the week ahead. Agree or disagree? Ethan said, disagree. Schoolsy, what do you do?
Nailed it.
I don't know what's going on there. Are they going to wait till after the election to bring you back into session?
I don't know. Get your Republican buddies to actually vote. See, on this one, I recognized Republicans were going to just do what they always do. And so no agreement. But if you could get them to vote.
Get back in town, have the votes, and let's get our budget balanced. Okay, number 5, agree or disagree? Cumberland County Commissioners will reverse their decision and let the Civic Center become a homeless shelter. Ethan said, agree. Schoolsy, what's the verdict?
Failed it.
Oh,
Yeah, I went with my heart on that one. As soon as I said it, I said they're not going to reverse their opinion, but I let it go. I was hoping. Cumberland County
Hope
Commission
is not a good strategy.
Nope, it isn't.
Okay, last and number 6, agree or disagree? On our return to Political Brew this week, Pat Callahan will say, okay, boys, at least 3 times. Ethan said, disagree. Schoolsy, how do you do? bad, Ethan. 3 right, 3 wrong. That puts you at 8 correct answers so far that we've been playing Nailed It or Failed It to my 11.
All right, I got a few more weeks to catch up here. It was fun to be on Political Brew with you, though, although I think that we didn't stir it up enough because we didn't get Callahan to calm us down or anything. So next time we do that, we're going to have to.
It's hard when you're doing it. When you're doing it remotely, it's different.
It's Sunday morning too. You know, it's a cup of coffee, quiet. All right, Phil, it's your turn to be back on the hot seat this week. So far, you are, as you said, you're up 11 to my 3. So you ready to see if you can expand your lead, or you're going to fall on your face? What do you think?
Nope, I'm going to leave you in the dust. Let's go.
All right, buddy. All right. All we need from you is an agree or disagree with a brief explanation as to why. Number 1. Agree or disagree? A third Republican senator will say the Senate should not consider RBG's replacement until after the election. Will that happen in the next week?
I disagree. I think the message is clear. The president is going to nominate. It's going to be someone who's been previously vetted before. They're going to have a vote.
Trump, agree or disagree? Trump will call Biden Sleepy Joe, Hiding Biden, or Crazy Uncle Joe during next week's presidential debate on Tuesday.
I disagree. I think the president is going to take my advice from earlier in our podcast and act more presidential.
Do you think he'll call him any kind of name?
No.
So you're saying not these or no names at all? You think he's...
the question is those names. I don't think you're going to hear him call Sleepy Joe or Crazy Uncle Joe or Hiding Biden.
But he might sneak another one in. Is that what you're saying?
He may invent a new one.
He may come up with a more presidential way of insulting Joe Biden. All right, agree or disagree? Donald Trump will name a woman to replace RBG who is younger than 50, under 50 years old.
Ooh. I'm going to say agree. The names that I've heard mentioned most prominently have already been vetted through the U.S. Senate for their appeals court federal positions. So I'm going to say agree.
Yeah, the 4 that I've seen, 2 are under 50, 2 are over 50. So you got a 50-50 shot there, buddy.
Yes.
All right. Agree or disagree? The Kennebec County Superior Court will rule that ballots received after Election Day but postmarked in time should be counted.
I agree. I think they will interpret that postage stamp as the date they voted and will agree.
Good. That'd be a good decision. All right. Number 5, agree to disagree. The number of absentee ballot requests will exceed 300,000 by next week. We are at 233,000 at this point.
I disagree. I think the presidential debates are going to give people reason to hold off filing their ballot till they get closer to Election Day.
All right. Finally, agree or disagree, the Boston Red Sox will end the regular season with the worst record in the American League. Breaks my heart to have to ask that question, buddy, but what do you think? Agree or disagree? Are they going to be the worst?
Yeah, I agree. Yep, they deserve it. It's like a AA baseball team out there. I know. I hate it, but
I'm sure you do, buddy. All right. Good job.
Thank you.
The clock has run out. The buzzer is sounding.
Okay, before we go, Mitch, Ethan, as we do each week in honor of Maine's bicentennial year, we answer and ask a Maine political trivia question. Here is last week's question. After Maine voted to separate from Massachusetts, what happened next to become a state?
You know, I certainly know part of the answer, but why don't you start, and then I'm going to add in what I know on this one, because I'm not sure what aspect you were referring to with the question.
Well, people would have naturally assumed that when we voted to separate ourselves from Massachusetts, that we became a state. But actually, there were 2 more steps that needed to happen. First, we needed to construct and adopt the Maine Constitution. And second, we had to appeal to the U.S. Congress to legally legislate and welcome us to become a state within the United States.
Yeah, and that's the part that was unfortunate in my mind, because in order for us to become a state, we had to trade off and allow another state to come in that would be a state that owned slaves. So we, in a sort of an indirect way, were responsible for the legalization of slavery in the Missouri Compromise there between the two states. So that was unfortunate in my mind. Yes, we had to go through those legal things, but it's too bad that our history is tied so closely to another state that enslaved human beings.
I agree, but let the record be very clear that Maine came in as a free state.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that we should be very proud of, very proud of. All right, you got a trivia question for us for this week, buddy?
Yes, I do. And here it is. The trivia question for this week is, what made Governor Haskell our most unique governor in Maine history?
Now, is this subjective? Because when you say most unique,
well, in my opinion, he is the most unique for. But
okay,
I don't want to give any more away. But
this is not like because Governor Haskell obviously was not a woman, not like Janet Mills, a woman, so you could objectively say she was unique. You're saying there's something about Governor Haskell that people would recognize as a very unique thing that no other governor ever did.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. That sounds good. All right, buddy. Should we do a little loser of the week here, or?
Oh, why not? Sure. Why not?
Right. Why don't you dive in first? Who's your loser of the week politician? Somebody you want to offer a little advice to maybe?
Yeah, I can't help it but single out Speaker Nancy Pelosi in response to this historic accord with Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. Her response was, "This is just a diversion, a distraction from our need to combat COVID-19. I think that was a pretty historic event, and she should have acknowledged it.
All right, fair enough. I'm gonna flip it. Well, my loser of the week. I'll just have to go there again. Look, my loser of the week is Mitch McConnell. This level of hypocrisy that he is putting forward it's just never been seen in American politics. And I know, folks like us hyperbole is what we live for. But honestly, within a year of 10 months of an election day, refusing to seat Merrick Garland, and now within 6 weeks hammering through, that to me is it's not only bad for him, it's bad for the entire country. So very disappointing. He is far and away my loser of the week.
Well, I think it goes to show once again that to be careful what you wish for. The reason that we have the opportunity to ramp this through is because when Harry Reid was the majority leader, he got rid of the 60 vote rule to confirm, and now it's coming back to bite you.
Yeah, look, I understand all that stuff, but it's a kindergarten game to say, that kid did something just as bad as I did, so therefore I'm allowed to do something bad. We could debate forever whether those things are equivalent or not. What we know is 250 years of history. This has never happened before, and we know why it's happening this time. So,
okay, Ethan, that's a wrap. Let's turn to the president and find out how we did.
And you're fake news. You are fake news.
Every time.
It's so much fun doing this with you. I'll see you next week.
All right. Good job, buddy.
Thanks.